Hey guitar players! Today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how to improve all aspects of your blues guitar playing, but framed within this idea of playing by yourself, so unaccompanied blues guitar, I guess. A few of you have been asking me to kind of talk about a few of these things, like specifically the rhythm guitar parts and that type of stuff, so hopefully I'll kind of cover some of those and try and break this down in a useful way, hopefully. Primarily, this is true whether you're playing in a band or by yourself, you know. This is important regardless, but I think the most important thing to consider and to put a lot of your focus on is your time feel and your sense of rhythm and knowing instinctively where you are in the bar and those types of things. So if I set a little metronome going here, like this, so, and I'm going to just play in the key of A, just take your usual 12 bar type riff, and what I'm trying to do here, even at this very sort of foundational sort of level here, is make sure I know really well where 2 and 4 is. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3. Do you hear I'm sort of slightly leaning into those beats a little bit heavier? 2, 3, 4. Okay. So the primary reason for that is if you were playing in a band, that's where the snare drum is, you know, or in a jazz context, that's where the hi-hat clamps together, usually. So we're kind of trying to create the illusion of that bigger picture, that there is a drummer involved, you know, and when you do play in a band and you practice this, you're able to lock in as a unit a little bit more, which is always good. So let me try that again. Maybe I'll take it around the 12 bar sequence. 2, 3. So if we're going to try and solo along with ourselves like that, we have to think about our phrasing. There is no point trying to do this successfully if we're just going to kind of start tearing into the pentatonic scale and do all of our flashy stuff. We have to think melodically and we have to leave space so that those two elements can interact. Okay, so let me try and demonstrate. So see what I mean? So like you have to kind of somehow keep that illusion going that there's more going on, so that when our ears are drawn away from one thing, we can still kind of imagine that it's there, you know. So when you're venturing around the fretboard, say you end up here, you know, this is a long way to kind of jump back to get back to your riff. So you want to have stuff that's nearby. Otherwise you're going to kind of stumble and lose your place in the bar and disrupt that time feel, which is so important. One thing I would suggest is refer back to the videos I've done about triads, and learn all of your triad inversions in all of these positions, you know, and then you'll be able to find stuff in those different zones that you can kind of play around with. So if I was up here, I could play some stuff there. Here I've got, you know, these types of things. There's a A7 like that, and then do things like this. I find these shapes really useful. A, D over A, this is really cool. This is, you know, in the context of A, it gives us an A9 flavour. But if you look at the chord itself there, the 3 notes, that actually makes an E minor triad. So you can use any of your E minor triads here, and then you can shift that up 2 frets to F sharp minor. What's that? That's a Led Zeppelin riff, isn't it? I forget which one. But yeah, you know what I mean? So you can kind of move that up around, up the fretboard like that, and then you've got a G over here, you're back to A, okay. Now this actually taps into an idea of triad pairings, which is really, really useful. I'll do a video on this because it's a bit more of an in-depth topic, but to generate an A7 type sound, you can pair together a G major triad and an A major triad. Okay, if you then do that in all of your, you know, it always comes back to triads for me, if you haven't guessed already. So, okay, and also because those things are a tone apart, you have the option of filling in the gap between them chromatically. So you know, things like that are all really useful for getting you out of trouble when you're in different areas. Let me play, I'll try and demonstrate. So stay on that A just to demonstrate. Whoops. You see what I mean? Like wherever I go there, I've got something that I can just grab, you know, like these things, like, and then the more string groups you have access to that, the better, you know, if you can get all of those things are really, really useful. So that's cool. Now from a technical point of view, I would highly recommend having something together like a hybrid picking technique or a fingerstyle thing, or maybe you're a thumb picker, whichever you resonate with the most. You know, I really like hybrid picking because I've grown up using a pick. You know, I was a heavy metal shredder when I was a teenager, and my background is very much in this type of stuff, you know, so that's useful for me, but I know that it's not for everybody, so do whatever works, but as long as you've got some way of using multiple fingers over here is really, really important, I think, to get this stuff happening, because then you can kind of use your pick to kind of stay on the A string, and then you can grab out some of those triad notes while you keep returning to that A string. You see what I mean? So I find it really useful. Mess around with that. If you're not used to it, just kind of, you know, spend a few evenings in front of the TV, like doing this sort of stuff, like make little arpeggios. That, and then also practice like moving them all together. So mess around with that. Hopefully that will kind of open up a few doors for you. And then you could do things like that then, you see, as well. Like say you're playing a solo line, as like going back to this idea of creating a bigger illusion. If you're playing a solo line but you're also just hitting an open string somewhere, it gives this you know, it tricks our ear into thinking that there's more going on, essentially. You know, and then by the same logic as well, if you can get together all of your sixth shapes, that's a hard word to say, sixth shapes, in like A7, A mixolydian basically. Or you can think D major if you want to think of the parent key, whichever way around your brain works for all that modal stuff. So yeah, venture through, get all of this on all the different string pairs, and do the same with thirds as well. And yeah, that will kind of be really useful for just thickening the texture of your solos, if that makes sense. Okay, so I think that covers most things that I would recommend. You've got the time feel, most important. The triads, also really important. The intervals, the sixths, and the technique, the hybrid picking stuff. You'll find that it's difficult to absorb all of those different things into this at once, you know. And this is the kind of thing that you'll continue to refine and get better at forever, you know. If I was to recommend one of those things that will help you the most, it's the time feel. You know, just kind of get used to doing this, make this so bulletproof that nothing can get in the way of that, and then just start off throwing in some very, very simple as simple as you can, like little just little pentatonic lines, you know. Don't try and overcomplicate this to begin with, you know. Get strong at keeping the form and the feel solid, and then throw all the other stuff in a little bit at a time as you go along, basically. Hopefully that helps. I've got some written resources on my Patreon if you want to kind of go and check them out. But yeah, see how you get on and keep me posted, and hopefully you'll have some fun with this. I'm going to play for a bit just to finish off, so you can disappear if you want, but that's up to you.